Picture a man walking alone. He doesn't crave attention. He doesn't seek validation. He doesn't chase status, wealth, or even the approval of others. And yet, when he enters a room, people look, not because he demands to be seen, but because there's something unsettling about him. He's calm, independent, impenetrable. And this man, this quiet, self-sufficient being, is perhaps the most dangerous person in society. Not because he wants to destroy the world, but because he doesn't need anything from it. This is the man who walks freely among us, but lives far beyond us. Society is built on need. We need jobs. We need money. We need social approval. We need love, connection, comfort, distractions. And when you don't need any of that, you don't just confuse the system, you threaten it. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And that idea, in a world addicted to more, is practically heresy. This man, the one who needs nothing, isn't playing the same game as everyone else. He doesn't compete. He doesn't envy. He observes. And in that simple act of detachment, he becomes unpredictable. Society can't buy him. Ego can't trap him. Power can't seduce him. And so, he becomes a silent enemy. Not because he's attacking, but because he's proof that most of us are enslaved to illusions we've never dared to question. Imagine a prison where everyone has forgotten the bars are real. Now imagine someone standing up and saying, "These bars aren't necessary. You can leave." Would the prisoners thank him? Number, they would turn on him. Because the comfort of chains is often easier than the terror of freedom. This man, this free man, shows people what's possible. That you can be fulfilled without fame. That you can be powerful without needing control. That you can be strong without dominance. That you can be happy without things. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But this man's why is internal. It comes from a deep source. Not from likes, not from income, not from applause. And so, he becomes dangerous. Because he reminds the world how shallow it really is. So what makes this man powerful? It's not muscles. It's not connections. It's not strategy or manipulation. It's self-mastery, the kind that Marcus Aurelius practiced every day, waking before the sun, confronting the ego, facing death and loss with equanimity. The man who needs nothing has trained himself, not to react to the world, but to stand calmly within it. He has tamed his desires. He has forgiven his enemies. He has dismantled his ego. And that terrifies people, because the average man is ruled by desire. Desire for status, for pleasure, for more of everything. But when you're ruled by desire, you can be manipulated. You'll trade your freedom for approval, your soul for comfort, your truth for security. The man who needs nothing, he makes no such trade, and so he cannot be controlled. Modern society functions like a hive. Everyone has a role. Everyone's expected to comply, conform, and chase the same dreams. Go to school, get the job, buy the house, climb the ladder, retire, repeat. Now enter the man who says, "No, thank you, I'll go another way." He doesn't mock the hive, he just leaves it, quietly. And in doing so, he becomes a symbol, a walking contradiction. He's not rich, but he's peaceful. He's not famous, but he's respected. He's not loud, but he's heard. This is the threat. Because his existence invalidates the illusion that success must come with suffering, that happiness must be earned, that meaning must be bought. Nietzsche called this kind of man the Übermensch, not in the comic book sense, but in the deeply spiritual sense. A man who transcends the herd. He creates his own values. He obeys an inner law. And in doing so, he outgrows the games everyone else is still playing. The man who needs nothing rarely speaks. But when he does, people listen. because his words don't come from impulse. They come from depth. He doesn't seek to impress. He doesn't argue to win. He speaks only when speaking is necessary. And this too unsettles people. Because most are addicted to noise, to gossip, to outrage, to the endless churn of commentary. Silence, to the untrained mind, feels like judgment. But for this man, silence is clarity. It's strategy. It's serenity. He chooses words the way a monk chooses his prayers, with intention, with grace, with discipline. Look at today's world. Scrolls, likes, notifications, endless content. Most people can't sit alone for 5 minutes without reaching for stimulation. Now consider the man who wakes before dawn, not to check his phone, but to confront his mind. He meditates, he writes, he walks in nature. He cultivates the ancient skill of focus. This isn't laziness. This is war, a war against the noise. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The man who needs nothing retreats there, daily. And while others chase dopamine, he sharpens his clarity like a blade. He is often alone. But he is not lonely. Why? Because he has befriended solitude. He finds richness in reflection, freedom in stillness. While others drown in distractions, he floats in his thoughts. This is not isolation. This is sovereignty. Nietzsche warned of the loneliness that comes with greatness. But he also knew solitude is the price of elevation. You cannot rise above the crowd and expect to stay embraced by it. And this man has accepted that trade. Here's the truth. The man who needs nothing isn't feared because he harms others, but because he reflects them. He becomes a mirror, one that exposes the games we play, the masks we wear, the fears we hide. And most people, they're not ready to see that reflection. His calmness makes their chaos louder. His discipline reveals their impulsiveness. His contentment exposes their hunger. And that's why people reject him. Not because he's wrong, but because he's right, in ways that make them uncomfortable. So what does this mean for you? If you've ever felt like you don't belong, if you've ever questioned what others blindly follow, if you've ever found peace in solitude while the world begged for attention, you're already walking this path. And yes, it will be lonely. And yes, they'll call you arrogant. They'll misunderstand your silence. They'll mock your independence. But remember, you do not exist to be understood. You exist to become who you truly are. And that path requires you to detach, to discipline, to rise, not above others, but above the need for others' approval. The man who needs nothing is not invincible, but he is untouchable, because he has made peace with discomfort. He has broken his chains. He has burned the false idols of status, fame, and fear. And in doing so, he has found something rare: inner sovereignty. This is the quietest revolution. No flags, no battles, just a man, walking freely while the rest of the world watches in confusion, and perhaps in secret admiration. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you no longer needed anything from the world? What would you become if your self-worth wasn't on lease from others? Would you still play the same games? Would you still beg for attention, validation, permission? Or would you finally be free? If you felt this message deeply, you're not alone, though it may feel like it. Leave a comment if you've ever felt misunderstood for your independence. Share this with someone who walks a similar path. And remember, in a world full of noise, silence is strength. In a world full of want, detachment is power. And in a world full of masks, the man who needs nothing is the only one truly free.